So, how does carrying make you change the way you walk through life? I'll tell you how it changed for me. Now, I was traditionally trained in Shudokan karate from the time I was 9 years old until I was in my early 20s. And I got to tell you, I am embarrassed to tell you this story, but it speaks volumes to where your training is at versus where your mindset is at. And I've always been a very self empowered person. I'm a Leo, I don't like to be contained. I don't like to be told what to do. And I've always been this way. And I just have had this like overinflated sense of self protection that I say overinflated because I had no right to feel that way. Even when I got my black belt, even when I earned my second degree black belt as a martial artist, I was dating a guy and I would think I was 18 and I had just gotten done at the dojo. I'm walking out to my car, completely oblivious, just like in my own world, thinking my own thoughts. I don't know what. And he thought it'd be hilarious to jump out at me from behind the car. When I was in high school, boys loved to challenge me. They're like, oh, I always wanted to know how I would measure up to a martial artist or how I'd measure up to a black belt. And I'm like, that's stupid. I don't want to hurt you. I would always say, I don't want to hurt you, which part of it was true because I'm pretty scrappy. Like if I actually have to defend myself. But there was that line where I'm like, well, if I actually defend myself against you, actually, and not just play, I will hurt you. And I didn't want to do that. Anyways, so back to my story. I'm walking out to the car and this boy thought it'd be so funny to jump out at me and scare the living daylights out of me. You guys, I screamed and jumped like 3 feet in the air and he laughed hysterically. He thought that was so funny. And I was so embarrassed because obviously I was embarrassed. Like here I was like training for a couple of hours at the dojo. I have my black belt. I think I'm like working on my second degree and just, I'm always not necessarily bragging, but it was part of my identity in high school and early college to be a martial artist. And I loved it. And so I realized that I was in no position to actually defend myself in that moment because my head was completely checked out despite my training. Like it was all this hypothetical fight. It was kata. It was a scripted grappling with someone. So yeah, he jumps out at me and scared the daylights out of me. And I realized that, oh shit, I don't know how to fight. Actually, not really at all. And it was eye opening to say the least. But here's a funny thing that happened. In 2020, I decided to start carrying a gun. And you might say that, well, you get enough training and and you'll be able to use your firearm in real life. But it's the same kind of thing. Like you can train at a range all day long. You can take a course all day long, but it's still one directional. It's still scripted. It's still you run to this cover, you take a shot, and then you run to the next cover, you can go bang, 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 2 shots to the head, 2 shots to the body, and then you run to the next one. It's all like scripted out for you instead of having to think about where you actually are. Think strategically about am I behind cover or am I behind concealment? And they're so completely different. And since bullets can go through most things, how are we trained for this? We're not. And so if you're training at a traditional range or training at regular courses where you're on this one directional path and you've got it all scripted out for you, it's the same kind of thing you're going to get into if you do get into a real life situation where you have to use your firearm. Girl, I pray for myself even because there's only so much you can do to prepare yourself. But here's the good news that when you first start to carry a firearm, all of a sudden your situational awareness gets heightened like tenfold. If you're anything like me, I don't know if you are, but if you're anything like me, I put that gun on my body and all of a sudden I was just so hyper aware of everything around me. Partly because I wondered if anyone else would notice that I was carrying it. It's one of those things you think it's printing all over the place and it's probably not. But it's that and just shit. I really hope I don't need to use this thing. And I think that's a very valuable transition to go through. And it helps you to become more aware of how unaware you have been up until that point. And I certainly was. Even after that experience with the boy, I realized that, man, I really don't pay much attention when I really should be. So where's your weak point? And do you agree that carrying a firearm is a great way to enhance your situational awareness?